On this episode, New Year and a new Home Assistant release. Plus, I'm talking with this guy about our smart home goals for 2023. Stick around.
Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. My name is Phil. Joining me as usual, I've got Rohan. Happy New Year, mate.
Happy New Year. How's it going?
Good. So it is the first Wednesday of the month, first Wednesday of 2023. And
That's right.
A new Home Assistant release is here for the new year. So we've got to get into it. But before we do, as usual, this episode of the Home Assistant Podcast is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabu Casa. Easily access your local Home Assistant instance remotely for a small monthly fee that supports the Home Assistant and the ESP Home project. Configuration is done via the user interface, so no fiddling with the router settings, SSL certificates, or any YAML. All right, Rohan. Should we jump into 2023.1, or maybe we'll just, I guess, before we do, quick shout out that 2023 is going to be the year of the voice, which we discussed last episode, which, by the way, how was your holiday? Was it?
It was fantastic.
I mean, yeah. I saw the pictures,
complain.
So it looked fantastic.
Yeah, no, it was nice to get away for a little bit. So it's been a while since we did that.
Yeah, that's good, especially with the pandemic already. But yeah, so the last release episode with Frank, we were discussing, the year of the voice and big plans for that. There is a shout out this month, or for this year, I should say. The Home Assistant community is looking for people to help out with their new Intense repository. So Intense, how can I explain what Intense are? So let's just assume that you want your computer to do something. In the example of a voice assistant, Intense are a structured string, I'm guessing, where, if it wishes to take out the nuances to basically get down to what you're trying to do. So I could say, please turn off this light, please turn on this light. The Intense would know to structure the sentence like remove the please, get the, action, which is turn on, turn off, get the light entity, and all that. So the Home Assistant community is looking for people to help build out what those intents may look like, different ways of how you would communicate with your home using your voice, not only in English,
different languages.
Yeah, all the languages that Home Assistant is going to support. Was it 76 languages? Did they say the other day?
Something like that.
It was a crazy number.
It's decent. Yeah.
So if you are a bilingual family, or some people that are into smart home and would have some great contributions, there is going to be a new Intense repository. It's all going to be open source. There will be details on the Home Assistant website and blog you'll be able to follow through. Please, get on. If you don't know how to code and you've been wanting to contribute to Home Assistant in some way, this is a great way to do it.
It's a great way. Yeah, you don't need to do anything, just literally help out that way. So, all right. Why don't we get into some new features, Phil? 2023.1. It's going to be, I was almost going to say 2022. But
I know, it's so hard, right? When I typed in the episode title just before, I was like, 2020. Nope, we are not in December. And we are definitely not in
space.
Yeah,
that's right. All right. So voice assistant aliases. So right now it's limited to Google Assistant. Essentially, how do you explain aliases? So aliases essentially to say I'm trying to do this without actually saying the words.
Well, it'd be aliases for your devices, right? So you may have different names for your TV.
Bedroom the TV is a great example. I might have multiple, right? So TV1, TV2, TV3. Well, maybe TV1 is guest bedroom TV. TV2 is my primary bedroom. TV3 is my living room, basement, whatever. And you could have the guest TV be downstairs. So would we be turning off the downstairs TV or turning off the guest TV? Maybe they would be the same thing, right? Yeah, exactly, right. And kids might name things differently too, right? like Bobby's room or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
So, hey, yeah, that's a pretty neat feature. So I think, we'll have a little bit of interesting things there. So
Alias, yeah, so it's only limited to Google Assistant at the moment. I'm really
Correct.
excited to see it come out for the Amazon Echo, if that's even possible. But yeah, if you've already got...
I think they were looking into it, but it's not there yet.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
So, because I've got my TV just in the living room, right? And there's so many like different ways to say to, I just want to be able to yell out, just turn off the TV, and it know which TV to do. That's my, my wish item. But yeah, if I was to say, even like other people in the family are like, play music on, in the living room or on the Sonos play bar, right? They're the same thing, Yep. So for me to be able to, give an alias so that things can be routed to that same device, I think is pretty good. So Google Assistant, it's there. If you've already got YAML set up, it doesn't conflict with that. It's all in the UI now. So you can just, if you've got Google Assistant going against a device, hit the edit button, and there should be some options so you can give aliases to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Amazon Echo. You can also do things like today. I'm saying, like if let's say, so I have my Echo behind me right here. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, right there. But if I want to say, like, because my light's added to this room and so on and so forth, I can just say, hey, turn off the light. As long as this one picks up my command, then it'll turn off the room, and like it has room context. Yeah. But again, it's not the same as like turn off, my office light, or maybe my wife calls it something else, something like that, right? So, yeah,
I think like some ways around it might be, and I've sort of experimented a little bit with it, is to use scripts and expose them to the Amazon Echo. That way, if you want to activate party mode, and you can have a sort of way to do that. Hey, you and the Amazon Echo, it's party time, sort of thing, right? Turn on party time, exactly. or do that. Yeah. So it's
again more than one way to skin a cat, right?
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So there are a bunch of new device classes that have been added for sensors. Yeah. So we now have support for data size, data rate, irradiance, sound pressure, and atmospheric pressure. So I'm guessing there must be a whole bunch of sensors out there to do atmospheric pressure. I'm guessing like weather stations, maybe. So cool. So they're all in Home Assistant now, and I think there is also a couple of breaking changes that are related to that. You may have things moving around a little bit to be consistent with those new device classes. So just watch out for that. I think it's a couple of sound sensors around the place, but just watch out for that in case you're using it.
Yeah. Also, here's one I love. For those of you using automations and scripts with devices, any configuration errors. So now the automation engine behind the scenes is actually not even behind the scenes. The automation engine's just been kind of improved quite a bit, actually, by basically saying, hey, you know what? We think you've done X, Y, and Z wrong. You should really go fix that, right? In the automations plane itself. So, which is really, really nice. It doesn't need you to go in and start looking at, hey, where did I go wrong? What, did I forget? Did I get a name wrong, entity name wrong, something like that, right? Whatever that might be. There's actually some useful context, I think, right there. So,
yeah, definitely. And there is a new text entity has been added to the Unify Protect doorbell. So, which is seems a bit all right. It's cool. It's just a text entity, but what it allows you to do is you can now set what message is displayed on your doorbell. So, I'm guessing for Halloween you could have, go away. I don't believe in trick or treating. This isn't America. Or, for Christmas you could have Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, something like that. Very
You
cool.
can say welcome or you're not welcome, whatever the message you want to display right there.
Yeah, do not disturb,
That's right. Yale Access. So when you're using the Bluetooth module there too, so there's now support for battery status, which is always good. So
I have the Yale Z-Wave locks, which have battery support. Love them. So cool to see that the Bluetooth is getting a bit of love there. I wonder, I haven't checked, I assume there is, but I know Yale has the Wi-Fi module. I wonder if that's been added to home. I must have to check that out. Not that I want to go over to Wi-Fi, but...
Yeah, it almost feels backwards there.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm not going to do it. I'm just curious. Like, they've got so many options, right, to integrate.
Yeah.
Because the radio, what I really love about that lock is that the radio is just a module, right? So you can plug in a Zigbee, you can plug in, I think it's even a HomeKit radio. Yeah, exactly. So very future-proof, which is why I really love that device.
Yeah.
Okay. Calendar entity. The last release, we introduced local calendar support into Home Assistant. So you could create events in Home Assistant into local calendar. That has now been migrated to the Google Calendar integration, which means you can now create events in your Google Calendar from Home Assistant.
Yeah.
So probably not game changing, but it is pretty, I can see a few use cases. Let's say you've got Grocery hooked up. Grocery says, hey, you need to change the batteries. In this, you can add an event, to your schedule, Thursday night, 6 p.m. after work, go around and change the batteries in your house, all right? Lock out time in your calendar to do it. Lots of things like that.
I mean, even when it comes to things like saying, hey, you know what, and we just went through this as we're planning vacations and things like that, right? Yep. Like say, hey, you know what, I'm going on vacation X to Y, and that goes in, puts in whatever you want in the Google Calendar, marks it off there. But on the other side of it too is now you can actually tie that to a lot of your automations and things like that, right? To say, hey, I'm on vacation mode from X to Y, whatever that is.
Yeah. There is also a support for variations of recurring events. So, for example, you can have things like on the first Wednesday or the last Tuesday of the month. That's now supported. And you can even edit existing events from the local calendar as well. I think so. Previous integration allowed you to create events. Now you can actually edit it in the UI as well. So, fancy.
Yeah, no, it's great. SwitchBot. So the SwitchBot integration, wow. The SwitchBot integration added support for power monitoring of the wall plugs and initial humidifier support. So that's good. There you go.
SwitchBot is, I have the original SwitchBot, just the SwitchBot, right? That's what they credited.
The little button push thing.
Yeah, the button pusher, right? I think it was a Kickstarter or on Indiegogo or something.
Yep.
I'm surprised at how successful they are still maintaining and their momentum. They've moved into so many different products now, right? We had Sean a couple of episodes ago who had the SwitchBot curtain controlling his blinds. I don't use many of their products apart from I don't use the SwitchBot anymore, but I completely support that company.
A lot of people use it. I think I'm trying to think of who it was, but some people I've seen people use it for hey, turn on my coffee machine in the morning and things like that, right? We had
fantastic use case.
Exactly. I mean, we've had people on here before, like XPMC came on here before and said, hey, here's how I'm going to wire the coffee machine and things like that, which, would be kind of cool. But sometimes you might not be comfortable with, ripping apart your coffee, especially with an expensive machine, right?
100%.
So things like that. I mean, especially if it's just a button, great. Just tap it. Right. So it's, why not? But,
all right, time for some new integrations. So Reolink. So Starkiller OG on GitHub has worked very hard in converting some of the community plugins or integrations for Reolink that were out there, and has started to create a built-in Reolink integration for Home Assistant. So if you're not familiar, Reolink are a smart home brand that specialize in cameras. So they do indoor, outdoor, and they've also got some doorbell cameras as well. They are, I think the smart home community really likes them because of their price. And they do generally open up, RTSP on BIF support, which allows, other, because it's an open standard, other MVRs can then go ahead and integrate with them. So the network video recorders. So with this integration, you can link your compatible Reolink camera or NVR with Home Assistant. It's currently being tested with a handful of devices, which includes the Reolink doorbell, PoE, and Wi-Fi models. Unfortunately for me in this case, battery cameras are not currently supported. So I'm eagerly waiting for battery cameras to be supported.
Yeah, and this is nice. It just brings in a supported, like a Home Assistant supported integration, right? Whereas in the past,
you don't have to go
it's just the
hacks.
Developers maintaining it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not that there's, I'm sure people disagree with me here, but I don't think there's anything overtly wrong with hacks, but you kind of get what you pay for there, right? So it's sometimes, right? I run into some fantastic plugins there.
It does feel a little bit like the Wild West, right? Where you're not sure what quality you're going to get, which,
there can be a lot of abandoned projects and things like that as well, right? Whereas once it's in the mainline integration with Home Assistant, there's some level of consistency or guarantee.
Yep.
I've also had integrations in the past, which are like, again, keep in mind, I'm like 99% of my integrations are fantastic, right? That I used with that hacks, but there's ones that just are extremely like whether it's CPU intensive or whatever. It's just again, it's just not up to Home Assistant's
standard,
right? That they leverage, and sometimes they are. A lot of times they are, but sometimes they're not. So, all right. AirVisual Pro. So it's one of the new brands there. And so, it leverages that, and you can find it under AirVisual.
So, because I think this is the one it's going to really leverage that brand functionality now, because there is AirVisual and AirVisual Pro. So there's a slight difference. I'm not too close to the product to understand where it is. I think Aaron Batcher has introduced this one. So, but essentially whatever the nuance is there, when you go into the brand now in Home Assistant, when you go add the integration, you just choose AirVisual, and then it will prompt you if you want to install AirVisual or AirVisual Pro. So that's just clean up the integrations page so much better.
Yeah. It looks cool though. They got a bunch of sensors like air quality index and carbon dioxide and so on and so forth. So
nice. Neat. All right. Google SDK. All right. So, the Google Assistant SDK. I should clarify that.
That's right.
So there is the Google Assistant integration, which allows you to control your smart home with your Google Assistant, Google Home devices. This one is a little bit different. So it's not for the faint of heart. If you're a developer, you might be able to have some fun with this, but if you're just getting started with Home Assistant, probably not for you. But this does allow you to do some pretty cool stuff. So the Google Assistant SDK allows you to send commands to Google Assistant. So I'm guessing you could then potentially expose devices to Google Assistant that are not natively supported, perhaps. You could tell Google Assistant to do things in Google's homeland, maybe. But anyway, because there is the SDK integration, it'll unlock a whole bunch of other different features that you can do, sort of to make that a bit of a two-way street, as opposed to Google Assistant telling Home Assistant what to do. Now Home Assistant can go back and tell Google Assistant different things. Unfortunately, I'm not too close to the Google Assistant to know how powerful this could be, but I'm guessing there's going to be some pretty good stuff coming out of this.
Yeah, there's some really interesting things, even in the documentation that it talks about, right? So, for example, you want to broadcast messages to all your Google Assistant speakers without interrupting the music and video or video playback, right? So saying like, hey, coffee is ready, someone's at the front door, whatever that is, right?
But keep music playing,
Exactly. But on the other side, you can also send commands to Google Assistant, right? So again, for example, instead of me, using my voice and saying, "Hey, go and like start vacuuming," or "Go and set Nest Guard," right? And or whatever that is. For that we can start automating a lot of that stuff, because again, instead of that, it can just be a text string that we push up to Google Assistant. Right. So that might be kind of interesting there. So
yeah, so then you can have like Home Assistant control like Google devices that may not be brought back into Home Assistant for whatever reason.
Exactly.
So there could be someone that might have an integration with Google Assistant, like, you might see it works with Google Home on the box, and now you could potentially bring that into Home Assistant via this SDK if you've...
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like you said, though, Phil, this one's not going to be for the faint of heart, right? So because essentially what's got to happen is you got to go in, you got to set all of your, on the Google side, you've got to set quite a few prerequisites there. And then once you do that, generate your client ID, client secret, so on and so forth, and then go. There's it looks like there's about 18 steps on the Google side that you'd have to do to at least start. Again, if that doesn't sound too complex, great, go play with it. Let us know how it works, right? And let us know what you do with it.
The Google and Amazon developer consoles are just so intense now, right? Like, I just want to go in, get an API key. Now, like, I needed to get something the other day for something that we were working on, Rohan, and I was like, I know I have these credentials somewhere, but I don't know where the settings are on the Google side. And it took me ages to find, which developer console portal I needed to be in and what app to look at. It's crazy. Yeah,
and especially as these companies start acquiring or keep acquiring companies and things like that, and it's just, is this my Nest credential? Is this my Google credential? Is this my whatever else, right? And again, especially as they have so many SDKs too. This is Google Assistant SDK. This is Google Sheets SDK or API key or whatever that is, right? So it's tons of stuff crazy. Like that. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some breaking changes. So decons. So there's an issue with the mapping of the trigger of this. I'm going to butcher this, but it's the stir bar, which is the IKEA smart remote. So that's been discovered and fixed. And because of that, any automations relying on that will need to be adjusted and reconfigured.
Interesting. So they may have had button 1 was mapped to the wrong thing, button 2 was mapped to a different thing. Looks like those sort of things can be changed. It's gonna. Exactly,
right. So, because that's a Zigbee level change, right? So that's why it affects the decons integration.
Yes. So if you're using ZHA or Zigbee to MQTT, it should be okay, but because it's going through decons,
correct. That's how I understand it, at least.
All right. Fitbit, units of measurement for length, mass, time, and volume have been aligned with the standard Home Assistant units. I don't know why Fitbit would need its own unit for time, but fair enough. If you have any automations, any reporting, it may get skewed with this update.
Right. Speedtest.net, the update frequency option has been removed. So the default frequency is 60 minutes. And if you want to customize that polling, then essentially disable the polling update from the system options and use the update entity service. And then you just run that task whenever you want.
Yeah, you can use a platform time trigger to then, a time pattern to then say, run every 15 minutes or every 5 minutes.
5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is. Yeah. Exactly.
And Bushbarn, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly too, has been removed as it relies on web scraping. It is available in Hacks. I think in Hacks it said it was going to be removed in the November 2022 release. So yeah, it's officially gone in this release now, just in case you're wondering where it's gone. Yeah, but it is available in Hacks. And if you want to know more about why scraping isn't allowed, then yeah, check out the 2022.12 episode with Frank. We had a big discussion on that too. So yeah, I guess 2023.1, not a huge release, but and so as we'll sort of mention with Frank towards the end of the last year, was that when in 2022 they didn't do a January release, and the February release, it just caused a whole bunch of issues for the February release. So yeah, they've done a January release this year. It's not a huge release. There's no major new things out of the box. A lot of people are on holidays, but still good to at least get some of these small minor improvements out.
There's still a few hundred updates in this one, right? So there's a lot of performance fixes, things like that. So it might be nice to, if your home assistant is a little clunky or luggish, and you're a little bit scared to say, hey, you know what, I don't want to introduce a ton of new platforms, whatever. This might be a good one to update to. So yeah, so
that's good.
A little bit of food for thought there.
All right, so first episode of the year, Rohan. I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you love when I put you on the spot.
Always.
What are your smart home goals for 2023? Do you have any? Have you thought about what you want to achieve this year? I'm not talking about, I want to automate the bathroom light this year, right? Like I want, have you got like a grand vision projects like, I don't know, or seeing a delivery man driver and getting a video camera feed to identify him or something?
That's right. That's still, no, I mean, it's nothing super grand, right? Kind of business as usual, just keep it working, keep it more stable.
Yep.
Actually, from a stability perspective, I think I've got it to kind of where I want it. Like there's not a whole lot of like care and feeding I do, other than updating my Docker containers. I would love to, again, have more of a focus on efficiency, if that makes sense. And again, very high level still, right? Like I haven't exactly figured out what that is, but using less water, less power, less whatever, right? Like like resources, right? Natural gas, things like that. I don't know. I depending on how money goes, I'd love to see, we want to renovate our kitchen too. So, I want to see, what that brings too, right? From options for smart, whether it's smart lighting. I'm not a big like, I want to replace my fridge and I need a smart fridge that, scans the barcodes.
Why does your refrigerator need Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm good with the standard. Again, it's just one more thing to care and feed otherwise, right? So, but yeah, those are kind of our higher level projects. Again, funding dependent, right? So, but if that does happen, then I'd love to see, where I can put a lot of automation in there too, right? Like, or what. Not necessarily smart devices, but what I can make smart or.
So that's a good question for me to lead into then. Like, so if let's say you've got your all right, we're going to redo the kitchen, right? How do you go in like with a smart home lens to that? Do you think, okay, I want to be able to just get them to do the kitchen and then I'll automate it myself later with the stuff that I want to do? Or would you rather outsource it to them and tell them, hey, I want the lights to be smart. I don't care how you do it. Just let me control it locally. Like as long as I can control it locally, I don't care. Install it and I'll pay an extra bit. Or would you rather tack it on, do it yourself later sort of approach?
I think it'll be somewhat in between. I don't know that. Again, it depends on who you hire, right? So or who's doing the kitchen. So I'm again, I don't know how to put countertops down and stuff. It doesn't look overly hard, but I also know that I'm not. I know what I'm not good at, right? Like
it'll take someone 5 minutes to do it, while it'll take you a whole day, right? And
and I'll probably drop the slab, break something, and have to spend another like $8,000. So instead of that, I'd rather do that. But now from, I would definitely be the one to choose what it is I'm doing, what products I'm using, so on and so forth. I don't, that part for me personally, I don't want to, relinquish control, if you want to call it.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, hey, I need this channel run here, things like that. I would want to plan it out so that they are aware of my intention. So again, I can have things like flush mounted, like just nicer, right? But yeah, whereas the actual, or like if I want to run, like power lines or any of that, any data cabling or anything like that between cabinets and things like that, sure, I can let them know and they can drill holes for me, things like that. Can I do it myself? Absolutely. If that's one thing that I don't have to do and it's very low cost on their side, sure, why not? Right? Again, it comes back to cost.
Yeah, always. Yeah, of course. I'm going to sound like an old man here, but because my wife and I are in a similar situation, we're going to, we have dreaming of, our grand renovation plans, money permitting, of course. And so I've started looking at like Instagram reels of, like the influencers, 5 smart things you should have in your kitchen renovation, right? Yeah. And it's all like, they're pretty like cool stuff, like kickboard drawers and stuff like that. One thing that I have discovered is that there is a plug that a thing that you can like hole saw into your countertop or bench, right? And it's like a push button, and you push it and it opens up a 4-way power board, like it's a cylinder that pops up, right? That's the sort of stuff that I would love to like be able to do, right? Like it's hidden away when you need a PowerPoint, rather than sticking out the side all the time. Just like hide it away nicely. I don't need it to be voice controlled. I'd love it if it's voice controlled, but because I think you've got your range hood lights that are just like IKEA smart globes, right?
Yeah. Like I put the Tradford bulbs inside there. Yep. And there. So anytime every night every evening when my good evening runs, it turns those on and whatever. I can color control them, or I can warm white, cold white kind of control them. I don't, but it's always full intensity and in a specific whatever my wife wanted and that she thought looked best. So I'm like, hey, cool, and I'm good with that. And it works well.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So how about you? What are your outside of your pop-up power socket? What are your
a man can dream, right? What is my high level? Okay. Similar to you, I want to get more reliability, I think. So right now everyone will probably be following my journey with these FP1 sensors. So I've got the Xiaomi FP1 sensors around the house. Like, they are awesome. I love them. They're great 95% of the time. It's the 5% that I need to work on. So for whatever reason, they will not change their status to the room being cleared. So therefore, lights stay on, and Home Assistant assumes that someone is still in the room. That also means that if you manually turn the light off at the switch and you walk back into the room because the room's already occupied, the lights don't turn on for you, and it just it's jarring, right? Like it's frustrating because then the counter argument to is, why don't you just use the light switch, right? Well, I don't want to have to use the light switch. And that's
right.
So I want to, So currently and the only way to get them to start reporting again, I've found, is to physically unplug the USB cable and plug it back in.
That's annoying.
So I'm doing a bit of a MacGyver at the moment. I purchased some Sonoff USB power, smart relay USB powers things. They integrate with the local to you integration, so I'm going to try and just power cycle those FP1 sensors. I have an automation set up in my daughter's room that if it's during the day and the room has been detected for more than 30 minutes, Home Assistant actually has a reset presence button in there. I'll just, get an automation to trigger that. They're all, as I said, it's MacGyver hacky. I don't want to have to do that, right? I don't want to have to have automations to monitor the automations to make sure everything's working correctly. So I want to add more reliability. I don't know how I get that at this stage.
So would you spend more money and get, like, let's say, for example, there's a better answer to the FP1 in this case, right? Because this, to me, this just sounds like what you're doing is just compensating for something that's 100%. Effectively wrong with the FP1 in this case. So would that mean you're gonna, hey, great, I'm gonna, let me get rid of this, and then there's something better out there. Let me plug that in and see how that works. Would you replace it, or like, because reliability can be two things, right? One is you just, like you said, MacGyver it and throw more automations at it, or the other one is just kind of fix it. There's Band-Aid, and then there's rip and replace, right?
It's funny. I was actually, just before this recording, I was on AliExpress looking for other options to the FP1.
Yeah.
You actually sent me one a couple of months ago, which I started looking at. Blackadder has done a review on the one that you sent me that came out pretty good. So there is an alternative microwave, MM wave presence sensor that I could use. I was also just reading a blog from Smart Home Scene to say that there is they did a comparison of the three MM wave presence detections out there. The FP1, they actually had winning, and a close second was the one you sent me. I'll have to get the model number and put it in the show notes.
And Lewis at Everything Smart Home also has one that he's kind of designed as well. Yeah,
which I think is Wi-Fi ESP based, from what I remember. Which is, I won't go there. I've spoken about it enough. I don't want to introduce a Wi-Fi presence occupancy sensor at the moment. I'd rather keep everything Zigbee or Z-Wave for the moment. So I think, that's my. I might just, because I've spent a lot of money on those FP1s, right? I don't want to throw that money down the drain. Because I don't think I'd be able to recoup I'm not going to be able to sell them. I might buy another model just and put it in one room just to give a like-for-like comparison before I roll it out. Otherwise, I don't know what my answer is. Maybe I do have to just bite the bullet and go something like Wi-Fi, but I'm not sure if it's Wi-Fi or Zigbee that's the issue here, which is the sensor itself. Maybe it's the technology. It's a bit immature that is causing these issues. I need to spend some time and work out what's going wrong. So that's the sort of, and that's what I mean, like, by reliability, right? Same thing goes with my Z-Wave network. For whatever reason, I mentioned on a couple of episodes ago, like, it'll just freeze for a couple of minutes. I need to work out why that is. Do I need a new Z-Wave hardware? I don't know, but I want reliability, right? I want my smart home to just be working. I don't want to have to open up the Home Assistant and have to say, all right, why isn't the lights working this time? And then I guess my other point is I want to start using the data Home Assistant has to start cutting back on my energy consumption. Right now I know one of my big users of energy in the home is just my Synology NAS, which I have running 24/7. So maybe I could work out a way to optimize that. Maybe I don't need to run so many Docker containers from that. Also, just things like aircon, making sure that's nice. Actually, yesterday I installed the proximity sensor into Home Assistant so I can work out as we arrive, because it's been bloody hot the past couple of days in Melbourne. It's going to get back to cold weather now for whatever reason. But of course, Yeah, classic, right? So much for summer. Anyway, so as we approach the house, like, because it's been so hot, like, I want to be able to home assistant to know, all right, you're on your way home. I'm going to turn the aircon on and start the house cooling down. Same with, like, in winter, right? People do it for the Nest has the same feature, right? Like the Nest thermostat, that was one of their selling points. So I want to be able to start using that sort of data in my automations to sort of make things smarter, make things more energy efficient.
Interesting. Yeah.
They're my high level goals, I guess, for this year.
Nice. That's kind of cool. Okay. Same kind of deal, right? A lot of them are just, more efficient. Whatever that means.
Well, and because when you said efficient before, that I try to write my automations as efficiently as possible. Like, I try not to use too many automations. I don't know, how's your automation sprawl in your config? Like,
it's not too bad. I mean, I don't. As I get new things, I'll add them into my automations, or potentially add an automation for it.
Yep.
But really, that's it. I actually ended up getting and I hate myself for it, but I ended up getting a Ecovacs X1 Omni.
Yeah,
I know it's just that was my little Christmas gift to myself. It's stupidly expensive.
So this is a vacuum cleaner, and this is like the vacuum, right? Like
vacuum and mop together, and it's the annoying thing is it's cloud connected. It's entirely cloud connected, and there's
there's no local hack that you can get around it.
Deep reliance on it. Not really. Like, and it's not even about me triggering it, right? It's about it needing the internet to be able to do some of its smart things. Technically, I think, at least from what I've read, you can at least you can block it off, but then it just goes around and does kind of everything everywhere. You can't say, "Hey, go to this room," and because like those maps and stuff are stored online.
I mean, I'd say I feel sorry for you, but you're a co-host of our podcast. And
I know I did it to myself.
How many times have we talked about the cloud myself?
But it's like, but for that much money, I really, really, really hope that they don't just kill it tomorrow. But yeah, like it's so far. I mean, it's done a great job, right? So it goes in, it empties out the dirty water, or like
so it cleans like
the mops
a base
and everything
station that it goes to and gets cleaned out.
Yeah, it's quite a bit larger than I thought.
Okay.
but it does. It looks like the base station looks like a large waste basket, like a very large waste basket, essentially.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's got clean water tank, dirty water tank, and a place for the vacuum, like dirty bag, and it cleans itself, does all that. So, yeah, so like when I got that, so now, I mean, probably today I'm probably going to, bring it into Home Assistant, and I actually just got it. Bring it into Home Assistant and do that kind of thing. I was playing around with
into Home Assistant or not yet?
I do. I have it in Home Assistant, but I don't have it automated in any way. Like it exists. There's entities, and that's as far as I got.
What level of automation can you get to? Because I know we had someone on our podcast that was able to scan an NFC tag in a room, and that would tell the vacuum cleaner, go clean that room only. Can you go to that level via the automations in Home Assistant if you wanted to, or is it only just start the whole cycle and stop the cycle if you need to?
I haven't actually dug that far in. Again, like I said, I've literally just brought it in, and then I had to go, do a bunch of other stuff. So
that's not the answer I want. I want to know, man. Like,
I know. How did you? Hopefully next episode, hopefully I'll have an answer for you.
I'm excited though. I say this selfishly because I'm like keen on the newer versions of a robot vacuum cleaner.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's so many options out there now, and
I mean, up until now, I was using an old Roomba. I don't even remember what model it is, like 8 something. No Wi-Fi, no nothing. Like it's old.
Yeah,
and to the point where it wasn't great at cleaning. Like it did an
pushes
okay
the dirt
job.
around, right?
No, not. I don't want to say it pushes the dirt around, but it like my corners and all of that stuff. There's not like an emphasis on that, and because it doesn't have maps in it and stuff like that, it doesn't do like the whole thing. It was one of those that like it does random patterns, and then eventually, after your average like 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever it is cleans, technically it would have gotten everywhere in that room.
Yep.
Right. Well, statistically, there's something like that, right? Whatever that is. It got to the point where it was still, despite that, it wasn't like cleaning around like the edges and stuff like that. It was great for its time, and I got that I think when I first moved into this house, or just shortly after that, and then literally I think the next release, which came out a few months later, they were like, "Hey, here's Wi-Fi and all these," and I was like, "Oh crap!" Well,
yeah,
right, and then so, but whatever, it worked. But it was relegated to pretty much for the last couple of years. It was relegated to just to clean my bedroom, where it would just again, it was an area I can just close off, and I wouldn't have to worry about it because again, it didn't do well with cords. It didn't do well with those kind of things. So like, and my bedroom's an area where I don't have that. Whereas the rest of my house is fairly open.
Yep.
So it can travel wherever, get caught. So it was essentially just relegated. And only for that purpose. It's not that there's any more dust in my bedroom or anything like that. It's just, it's the safest spot for it. So I'm like, okay, I'll just put it there.
And to me, that comes down to another like reliability point, right? Like if you come home and the robot hasn't cleaned the floor because it got stuck on a cord, right? Then yeah.
And not to say the newer ones guaranteed won't.
No, of course.
But at least you can build something around it and say, okay, exclude this room or exclude this zone or whatever, right? But yeah. So
cool, man.
That's what my to-do now.
I'll continue that for the whole year then until you tell me more about this vacuum cleaner.
That's right. There you go.
There you go. Cool. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up. 2023.1, smallish release, but a good one to start off the new year. Year of the Voice for 2023.1. Let's see where we go. I'm very excited for this year.
Yeah. All right.
Catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Take care.
If you want to share your Home Assistant journey or come on as a guest, reach out to us at feedback@haspodcast.io. That's HASS podcast.io.
The Home Assistant Podcast is hosted by Phil Hawthorne and myself, Rohan Karamandi. For links to topics we discussed today, check out our show notes on haspodcast.io.